for church. I'm getting ready for church this morning. It's Sunday. I'm about to go fellowship with my brothers and sisters in the Lord, and just so thankful, so blessed for the people that God has placed in my life, right? But as I was thinking this morning and meditating, a certain scenario, a certain thought came to my mind, which brought a memory, and so I wanted to share that with you guys, right? So. I always like to wear hats, I like to wear hats. I rock hats, and I know that back in the day, not so much more now, but back in the day, it was deemed disrespectful. It was deemed disrespectful to walk into a building, into somebody's home, into church, with your hat on. So the respectful thing was to remove your hat. Or I don't know if you guys have seen, like in movies, whenever a man encounters a lady, he would remove his hat. Why, I'm not sure, but I know that that's how it used to be, and it was a respectful thing, right? And so now, when I go to church and I keep my hat on, and I don't do it in a disrespectful way, I just come at it more from the perspective that we are to come to church as we are. We are to come to church as we are. I don't fully understand why it's deemed disrespectful, or it used to be, to wear a hat. And so I'll wear a hat, and I noticed that a lot of people now, a lot of guys now will wear a hat, right? But it reminded me of a story. When I was young, my brother was there, a few homeboys were there, and one of my friends, he knew this girl, and she invited us over to her house, right? And actually, it was her aunt's house, and so her aunt was a little bit more liberal, a little bit more free, uh, so-called free, and so we could go over there and drink. I was young; I was maybe 18 at the time. I was young, and my homeboys were about my age or somewhere a little bit younger. But we could pretty much go over there and drink and not have to worry about anything, right? And so we get there, and we're all wearing hats. And we get there and we're walking in, and we see there's a guy sitting in the living room, and there's a big old fish, like a fish tank, right? And he looks like a biker. He looks like a pretty hardcore guy, right? And immediately he gets up and starts kind of talking to us, and you can tell the dude's tweaked out of his mind, been using meth or something. And so the aunt, she's really cool. The girl's aunt, she's really cool. She's like, "Oh, hi guys, come on in," and we're just kind of passing through the living room to get to the room, because it looked like she used to stay over there or something. That this girl that we knew, she had her own room. And so as we're walking through, she introduces us to this guy. Kind of gets up, like I said, looked like he'd been tweaking or something. And then so we kind of cut through. Then immediately he says something to one of my boys that's kind of walking behind. We're all kind of walking in, and my boy's kind of in the back. And he kind of says something to him to the effect of, like, when you walk into my house, you remove your hat, right? So kind of like saying, like I said, he was an older dude, and so we were younger. And so he looked at it as a disrespectful thing when we walked in with our hats on, right? And so we keep walking. We're like, "Oh man, whatever." So we kind of keep walking. We go into this girl's room. We're kind of chilling. We ask her, "Hey, should we leave? What's going on?" Like, because of how that guy had just acted. I mean, it was his house, so we didn't want to cause any trouble. We weren't that like crazy or like disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like, so she says, "No, he's just like that. He's been drinking or something to that effect." But basically, she says, "No, don't worry about it. He gets like that. Don't even sweat it." So we're chilling in her room, and then we just keep hearing arguing, like in the living room, and the guy's screaming, and all of a sudden it kind of quiets down a little bit. And I'm going off of recollection from like 20 something years ago, so there might be some discrepancies in my story, but as accurate as I can remember it, right? So he gets a little crazy. He's screaming at his girlfriend, I'm assuming, over our situation, with not removing our hats. But then the girl kind of just says, "Don't worry about it." She walks outside. She takes some money to go give her aunt to go buy us some beer, right? but we're already kind of like uncomfortable. Like we're just trying to cut out. I'm like thinking, man, I don't really want to hang out here. But we were kind of like, okay, let's have her aunt go buy us some beer. When she comes back, we'll leave. You know, because I was driving at that time. We'll leave and we'll go hang out somewhere else, but we'll have beer, right? So when the aunt leaves, that guy really like feels like, okay, my girlfriend's gone now. I'm really gonna press this issue. So he comes into the girl's room and starts kind of going off on her, and then starts going off on us, and just calling us disrespectful and calling us a bunch of little punks and this and that, right? And so at this point, you know, there was like 5 of us. We could have beat him up. We could have, you know. So this wasn't even like an issue of like were we scared or who's tougher or whatever. It was just an issue of like we just wanted to kind of hang out that day. We weren't even looking for trouble. And so I just kind of decided like, hey, let's just go, you know. We apologized to the guy, like, hey, bro, sorry, you know what I'm saying? We're leaving, but we're not removing our hats. And at that point, we weren't going to remove our hats because now it had become this thing where it was like, take off your hat. Like, you're not going to tell me what to do, right? But it was his house. So we said, look, man, we're just going to leave, you know. We're just going to get out of here. So we leave, and we're getting ready to go. But if you recall, we had given the lady money to go buy us beer, so she was at the store. So now we're kind of like in his front yard, but we're on the sidewalk where I had parked, and we're kind of hanging out over there, you know. Oh, and quick story. Somewhere along the line, part of the story, somewhere along this whole thing, I'm not exactly sure when it happened, but remember I said he had a big old fish tank? He was so tweaked out, and what we did upset him so much, or the fight with his girlfriend, that he punched that thing. He punched that thing and cut his hand all up. And so now we're already in the front yard waiting for her aunt to bring us back this beer. This girl's out there with us, you know, we're just hanging out. And all of a sudden, we're just out there minding our own business. Now, we're not even in his property no more. We're on the sidewalk. He comes out there. His hand's all cut up. He's going crazy. He's mad at us, right? And so me being the oldest one out of those that were there, I kind of confronted him like, what's up, you know? And that day, I had bought myself a brand new jacket, a nice, you know, blue and with a touch of like yellow lining of Nike, like a really nice Nike jacket, brand new. And so as he's like confronting me, he's going like this to me. You know, you guys are disrespectful, right? And he starts flicking blood on my new jacket, which I started to get upset. And my boys, they knew me, and so they knew that I you know, starting to get upset. And so I'm getting ready, like I'm getting in my stance just to punch this guy. When I look over like to my left, and my boy Spooky, he's like looking at me, and he's like going like this with his eyes, like pointing at something with his eyes. And so I glance at what he's trying to point out to me, and on the guy's hip, like tucked into his pants, big old kitchen knife, and he was like, his hand was like getting ready to go for it or something, right? And so at that point, I kind of diffused the situation. One of my boys had a little 22 on him, a little 22 gun, but you know, I like I said, I was in gangs and I was violent, and I did, you know, get involved in a lot of violence. But like I said, at that night we weren't on that mind frame. We just wanted to hang out. This wasn't one of our enemies from another gang. It was just, you know, we didn't want, I just thought it would be better in that moment to just diffuse the situation. So I apologized to the guy again. I said, look, we're just waiting for our beer. As soon as the beer gets here, we're going to leave, and you'll never see us again, right? So that kind of calms him down a little bit. And then from where we were standing, when you know, you could see into his house through the way that he came out, when he went in, it kind of led into the kitchen, kind of. Or you could see into the kitchen. And man, when he walks back in there, I see him pull out that knife and put it on a counter. Big old knife. He would have gutted me. And so I you know, I say that story to kind of say this, you know, respect goes a long way. And some people take some things very, very serious. Some people, because of their culture, because of their upbringing, man, we don't know. We don't know, but they take certain things really, really serious. To this guy, us wearing our hats inside of his house was really serious for whatever reason, or maybe just because he was tweaked out that day and was looking for a reason, right? There are reasons, like I said in one of my videos before, violence sometimes is necessary. At some point in your life, you might be confronted with a situation. There are reasons where you should be willing to fight, willing to even die for certain ideals or certain reasons or certain beliefs. But then there are other things that you can let go. You know what I'm saying? That you can let go. The Bible tells us to be wise. It tells us to use wisdom in certain situations. I was really young at that time, and so I wasn't very wise. But that night, I did the wise thing, and I like to believe, and I do believe that it was God protecting me, watching over me. Because most of the time, I would have just punched that guy. But like I said, I believe God was with me, and so let's be careful. Let's use wisdom in certain situations, and let's be respectful, and like I said, let's discern in a situation. Sometimes it's better to diffuse the situation. The Bible says that a kind word turns away wrath, right? A kind word turns away wrath. When you respond to somebody in kindness, and even if they're coming at you angry and frustrated, you come at them with respect, with kindness, you can diffuse the situation. And sometimes you need to put down your pride in order to get to that point, right? Certain things aren't worth losing your life or killing somebody over. All right. God bless you. Stay blessed, and see you next time.